All right. Almost had it. It was so close. Nonetheless, I figured it out. Welcome, everyone. So glad to have everybody here this evening as we are back on the podcasting road. Episode number 97. Unbelievable. We are drastically approaching episode 100. And I am so glad to be here tonight. It's going to be a great episode. This is somebody that I have followed their work for a long time and cannot wait for you to meet them. But before we get started, I do want to let you know that today is a pretty awesome day. It's an awesome day. And let me tell you why. Because sometimes you have great friends who we just start chatting and great things happen and great ideas happen. And today's one of those days. Today is the first day of the first day of the Disruptors March 4th movement. Yes. So just about 2 weeks ago, I was talking to some friends and they said, why don't we come up with like a day or something where we all commit to sharing the work we're so very passionate about, which is trauma-informed work, right? And so I said, I've already got a day because I worked with a colleague and she kept talking about March 4th. There's got to be something you can do on March 4th. We're marching forth for something, right? And so I thought, let's do it. So today starts the Disruptors March 4th, the Unapologetic Disruptors for Good movement to tell our passion in our work of trauma-informed education across the globe. Now, mind you all, this is just the very first one. It was just launched a couple weeks ago. And check this out. We have almost 40 people who registered from 16 states and 2 different countries in 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, we have a ton of people who are committed to going out and talking about this powerful work that is trauma-informed education within whatever setting they are. And I can tell you, it's exciting to me, you all. Many of you probably actually don't know that in my former life, which is not really a former life, it's still the current, I actually started a nonprofit organization called Ride for Reading, and we donated books via bicycle. Believe it or not, I used to be a competitive cyclist. I used to race mountain bikes, and I was teaching 4th grade at the time and found out that kids didn't have books in their home. This was in 2006. Went in a chat room because there was no social media back then. And I said, hey, anybody want to donate books to my school? And all of a sudden these cyclists started saying, I'll donate books. I'll donate money. And so I started an organization called Ride for Reading. And I did a national Ride for Reading week. And it feels eerily similar to this Disruptors March 4th. It was 1 week of the year. We had 30 cities across the country delivering books via bicycle to their students in their areas who might not have books in their homes. And so this just like re-energized me around this organizing of people around a common cause. So of these almost 40 people, we actually asked, how many people do you think you're going to be speaking to? And you all, no kidding, over 3,000 people are going to be impacted by this small group of the very first year of March 4th, Disruptors March 4th. And Unapologetic Disruptors for Good. So I'm super stoked about it, like super excited that this and because people registered, we're going to be giving away. I'm going to move this. If you're listening to the podcast, you're not going to be able to see it, but I'm going to tell you that we got new shirts made and they say Unapologetic Disruptor for Good. We took them to the Attachment and Trauma Network conference. We thought, oh man, we're going to have to haul these home. We didn't haul any of them home. We actually sold every one that we took. So next year, be prepared. We're going to bring a lot more. And if I am keynoting anywhere and they allow me to, I'll be bringing them with me so that you can show your Unapologetic Disruptor for Good as well. And you all, I've learned that we have Unapologetic Disruptor shirts. People are getting in trouble for wearing Unapologetic Disruptor shirts, which made me laugh, to be quite honest, that people are so nervous about things changing that they don't want people wearing shirts. So nonetheless, Bethany, I'm gonna read your intro, and then I need you to pick our winners, right? Of these two.
Yay, I'm ready.
I'm going to be giving out. So tonight's guest, if you're here live, you can see her already, right? But Bethany has been an educator for over 27 years. She's taught kindergarten, first, second, and third grades, and also served as an academic instructional coach. She spent 12 years serving as a building administrator, 7 as an assistant principal, and 5 years as a principal. But for the last 3 years, she's been in a mentoring program specialist at the Art Ford Education Service Cooperative, where she supports novice teachers across 27 districts. Bethany works with novice teachers in various areas through professional development sessions and coaching cycles. She also supports schools and districts by facilitating learning on relationship-based classroom management, family engagement and communication, and trauma-informed approaches that support staff, students, and families. Now, here's something super cool. She's also the handler for an educational assistant dog, and together they promote working dogs in schools for mental wellness, behavioral, and academic support. Oh, I can't wait to talk about all those things. So welcome, Bethany. And before we jump in, I need 2 numbers between 2 and 40, so we can let the winners of these awesome T-shirts know that they'll be coming their way. But of course, I did not have queued up what I should have had queued up, which is the actual form with everybody's information on it. So I'm going to do that right now. So if you'll go ahead and pick, and then by the time we get it up, we'll be ready. So between 2 and 40.
Okay, so let's do 16.
Awesome.
And we'll do my age, which is 29.
Of course it is. Me too. Isn't that funny how that works? Yes. Okay, so 16 and 29. Give me 2 seconds. And while I'm pulling this up because of my lack of preparation, Bethany, tell us a little bit more about you and all of that good stuff.
Okay. First of all, I am so excited to be here. And Matthew, I've been admiring you from afar for a long time. Your work has greatly impacted everything that I have done as an educator, and especially as an administrator when I was a principal, and when I discovered your work in Nashville, when you were a leader there. And so I'm just really excited to be here, and so excited to talk all the things tonight with you. So one of the things that I really focus in on right now in my role is retaining the novice teacher. And so we, at my facility at Art Ford Education Service Cooperative, we support 27 districts, and we have around 650 to 700 novice teachers that are in their first 3 years of teaching. So in Arkansas, we consider a novice teacher anyone who's in their first 3 years of their career. And so we have about 200-ish of year 1s, year 2s, and year 3s. And we provide support for all of them. So I go out to schools all the time and go into classrooms and directly support there. We also do a ton of professional learning, adult learning opportunities for teachers too. So I was in a school today, and I was working with a small group of teachers. Some of them were novices, some not, and their principal. And we talked about some brain-based discipline ideas, trauma-sensitive ways to support student behavior in the classroom. So that was part of my Disruptors Unite initiative. So I started off today.
Oh, yeah, you registered. I saw your name.
I did register. Maybe I'm number 29, since that's my age and everything. No. So anyway, so I kicked that off today, and we spent a lot of time talking about when there's confrontation with students and how we have to take care of ourselves. The ultimate form of self-care is to be able to self-regulate first and be the adult that goes first in all situations, to remain the consistent, the consistent part. So we spent a lot of time today talking through scenarios, and so that was my first kickoff of Disruptors Unite today.
I love it. And let me tell you who won. Right, we've got the winner. So that'd be cool if they were listening, but they may not be. But they'll know tomorrow, because I'm going to tell them either way. So the first winner that you chose is from Morgan City, Louisiana, and she registered that she's going to be supporting 40 people in this work, and her name is Sarah I'm going to totally botch this last name, but that's okay. Theriot or Theriot? Oh, that was
I bet she forgives you since she wins a T-shirt.
She will, yeah. But it's Sarah from Morgan City, Louisiana. So Sarah, thank you for registering, and we'll be getting that shirt out to you. Actually, I'm waiting on the second run to print because I sold all of them. So they'll be coming out. And the second person is from Canton, Ohio, and she registered that she's going to be supporting 20 people in her community, which is super cool, right? So her name is Kim Bader from Canton, Ohio. So, hey, there's 2 winners right there. Now, I will tell you all, I've been getting a lot of emails about how do I get one of those shirts? How do I get one of those shirts? I'm going to tell you that I am currently working with a drop shipper who will print them and ship them. And if anybody's ever tried to do that, it is awful. It's terrible. Because you got to run to the post office like every day. And if you listen to this podcast, you know I'm working back in school every day. So it's just not realistic. So stay tuned if you want one of our Unapologetic Disruptor for Good shirts or hoodies coming soon. Nice. Just stay tuned because we're going to be getting those out. So Bethany, thank you for choosing and thank you for giving us that intro. And you said so much. And, when I reached out to you about being on here, I said, man, we've got to talk about this mentorship because it's my new role, right? I've just been doing it a month and a half. I mentor principals. And I will tell you, it's amazing hard work in that I stepped in this role in a non-evaluative role, right? And I'm genuinely I spent the last month just convincing principals, listen, I'm not reporting anything. I'm literally just here to support you. And how I'm doing Disruptors Unite is one of them said, hey, will you do a PD for us tomorrow as a PD day because it's election day? Will you do a PD for us on how cooperative learning, social, emotional health, and trauma-informed all fit together? And I'm like, done. Ooh. So 9:00 tomorrow, we're going to be joining an amazing middle school, Apollo Middle School, and guiding their teachers through the importance of why cooperative learning is so important in this work that we call trauma-informed education. So, but tell us a little bit more about the mentoring, because I think those of us who are in education and those of us who are in schools every day, we see this dysregulation and lack of support for new teachers as a major problem, right? As how are we going to sustain our profession when the newest of our teachers are leaving within the first 3 years? So tell us a little bit more about what you do and how it came about.
I have been in this role for 3 years, and each year it has looked a little bit different. We are trying to evolve with the data that our teachers are giving us. And my first year was coming out of COVID, where we were still in quarantine mode and having to contact trace and all of the things that were happening with students being absent so much, and some even being not able to be found, just kind of off the grid. A lot of kids were still virtual, and just, it was really, really stressful. And so we had new teachers in the midst of that, trying to navigate what does education really look like, because it has never looked like this before. And so in some ways they were a little bit more resilient than I think some of us seasoned people, because they didn't know any differently. But that's how I started. And so that first year was kind of hard because I didn't get to go into schools a whole lot, because a lot of schools had cut off guests and things like that. So we still brought teachers onto our site, and we did a lot of professional learning, but there were times where some teachers only got to see like 3 or 4 times the whole year, because of all of the COVID restrictions and things like that. So there were a lot of Zooms and FaceTimes and things like that. But starting last year, I was able to get out into schools a lot, and this year even more so. And so it looks different for everyone. We do a lot of tier 1 support, which is just that general information and adult learning experiences that we offer. And so with our new teachers, we really hone in on that relationship piece. And that being the core to everything, because They have to understand how to build trusting relationships with students, and also how to support the behaviors that we're seeing in schools now, because kids are very dysregulated too, and a lot of that is because adults are so dysregulated, and we have a dysregulated society right now. And so everywhere they look on the news, in the stores that they go into, when they go to the ball field, that's really all our kids are seeing. They're seeing an excessive amount of dysregulation within adults. And so, and we know that a dysregulated adult can never support a child. And so, we really try to spend a lot of time with our teachers, helping them understand how to separate a student's behavior from the student, and also separate themselves from that behavior and really see the kid. And so we spend a lot of time focusing in on classroom management through that lens. And then it's not just about rules and making routines and procedures, but it's about safety and the various levels of safety: physical safety, emotional safety, psychological safety, and then physiological safety in a sense too, because we can advocate for those basic needs that some of our kids are missing out on. But that emotional and psychological safety is what most of our work through the mentoring program stems around, because they need to see how important that is before they can reach a kid to be able to teach their content.
Were you in my head yesterday when I was making the professional development for tomorrow?
Maybe.
Because,
I might need to share.
No joke. You nailed it, because the first slide that I have is about psychological safety, right? And I think what I love to do in that space when we talk about psychological safety is have adults reflect of a time when they didn't feel psychologically safe.
Yes.
And then ask them how that impacted retaining information or being at their best or having concentration, right? Because you are so right, where we talk, what you just said was this really the state of educators right now. And you're right. It's even beyond educators. This is the state of us. And I wouldn't even go beyond just the US, although I think we have an extreme amount of dysregulation. Yes. I saw somebody was on here earlier, Amanda from, I think it was Amanda from Australia, right? I could tell you that it's not just here. This is happening across the globe. And I think what we have to come to the conclusion is we can't do what we've always done because we're in a situation we've never been in. And so this is the opportune time of disruptors march forth, right? Of marching forth and saying, listen, we know the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same results. What I've learned is what we're trying to do is more of what we've always done. And it isn't working. And so we do more of it because that's the only tools in the toolbox are what we've always done. So this is a great opportunity to march forth and do it differently, right? And I think one of the things that is important is when we talk about how do we move forward is really this idea of collective care and supporting each other, not just like your role as a mentor, but educator to educator. What's your experience with seeing how that plays out within teams and new teachers, especially when they have a team that has a collective care process where one person struggles, they can support each other? Talk about some of your experience with that.
Well, what we try to do within our mentoring program is we work through our administrators, through the principals, in making sure that every teacher has a support person within their building that they can go straight to. And that's just for the basic things like how does the copy machine work, to how do I get a substitute, to even, emotional and emotional support and encouragement. So we provide that layer of support and we ensure that happens. And then if they don't have that support person, then they let us know so we can help advocate for them. So that's one layer that, that we want to make sure is at the building level, because I can't go into every school every week, to be able to see every teacher because we have so many. And so I work with a team of 3 other people. Too. And so we divide and conquer a lot. And sometimes we go together in one school because we have some of our schools that they may have 12 or 13 novices out of a 40 staff, roster. And so they may have 70-80% of their teachers have taught less than 3 years. And so we've tried to, in some of those schools, even just wrap our arms around the entire school. And because if it's not a novice that we're supporting, it's a support person that we're supporting. And then that principal too, because being an administrator and having a bunch of novice teachers, it's so overwhelming for the building leader. And so that's something that we've tried to really do. But we also really try so hard to just hone in on how the teacher can take care of themselves. And it's, that self-care buzzword, but we try to look at it differently and teach them how to advocate for themselves and what's okay to ask for, and because a lot of times new teachers, they're terrified to go ask their administrator a question, or to even ask their teacher friend across the hall, because they don't want to look inadequate, or they assume they should know something and they don't. And so we are constantly reassuring them that one of the strongest things that you can do as a year 1, year 2, year 3 teacher is advocate for yourself and ask for support. And so if they don't feel comfortable doing that within their building, they have us to reach out to. And we ensure our administrators in our region that that's why we're there, and that we're always going to communicate, in the best interest of the teacher. But we can also be kind of an outside perspective too. If someone is really struggling within a building and they're not sure who to talk to in their building, then they can run things by us. And so that's been something that we've really tried to focus in on. And we send out a monthly heart check, and we give them the opportunity to share a celebration, share a challenge. And then also, if they would like us to contact them, to reach out to them. And so they can say yes or no. They say, no, I'm good at this time, or yes, please. And so we follow up every month and look through those heart checks, and we divide and conquer and reach out. And some say, oh gosh, that was just a bad day, I think I'm good, and then some say, oh, I really want to set aside a time to talk, or can you just come into my classroom and observe 4th period, because I can't seem to get anything accomplished in 4th period, and I feel like I'm failing, so teachers in general are hard on themselves, but new teachers tend to be way harder on themselves, and sometimes just getting some validation that they're doing some really good things is important. And a lot of times our principals, which is what I love so much, our principals will reach out to us and say, can you please check in on this novice? They need to hear from somebody who's not their evaluator. And I love it when principals reach out and ask that, because it just shows me that they are really wanting to do whatever it takes to save this teacher. And when you see that teacher kind of shooting inward, and turning on themselves and not having that level of efficacy that they feel like makes a difference, they just need to hear from another person. And so when a principal advocates for that, it makes me so happy.
I mean, I'm hearing you talk and I'm going, every state and every district needs this. I mean, we know that. And in Tennessee now, you only have to have a degree to be a teacher. And so we've seen this influx of people coming in who have not been formally educated in pedagogy and instruction. And guess what? They're struggling.
Yes.
And I used the scenario that when I went back into school, I said it would be as if you're going to tell me I'm going to be a brain surgeon and you're going to pay me pretty well, because, I mean, especially in Nashville, their teachers get paid. It's the highest paid district in the state. And so people are like, yeah, I'll do it. So they show up the first day and it'd be like handing me a scalpel and having a patient laying there and go, good luck.
Yes.
Right? Yes. And then everybody looks and said, well, what are they doing? Well, they're doing all that they know how to do. They're doing the best they can. We're asking them to do a craft, a science, a art of teaching without anything but their own experience as a student. And let's be honest, Bethany, most of our experiences as students are not what we want our kids to be experiencing today.
That's exactly right.
So how powerful that you all have that the foundation that you work for, the organization that you work for, is taking this a priority as a collaborative to support how many? 27 districts? Is that the number?
27. And we have a virtual school as well that we support. So yeah.
I mean, it's so powerful, you all, and it's such a key to sustaining this profession, because I love what Giovanna said, and I put one of what she said earlier, but this is interesting. She said we had that situation happen in our school, and we just needed to find what time to create the support for new teachers, but also the teachers that were there before were also in the same boat.
Yeah.
And then administrators create a document where to go if. That's huge, right? And I
Oh,
think that's what I see too. We have veteran teachers right now that are going, it's too much.
yes.
It's too much. And why it's almost like I'm writing, it's like I'm co-authoring a book about this. It's so weird how this all works out, right? This is exactly what we're writing. I'm co-authoring a book about is how do we mitigate stress for adults and kids? And I'm writing from a principal's perspective. We've got all kinds of perspectives coming in because at the end of the day, you said it, many other people have said it, we have to have regulated systems because our kids are going to bring whatever they have and the best that they can do. And we have to have support systems for adults so we can show up with regulated bodies and brains because it's
Yes.
the only way that this is going to work. So another tool that you all have that I just, I love it. And I'm going to let you talk about it. And then I'm going to tell everyone about my experience in West Virginia when I had to give a keynote based off of an introduction of someone else. And I'll give that in a minute. But you have created your programming around an animal support dog named Archibald Ford, right?
Yes.
But he
Archie.
goes
Yeah.
Archie, goes by Archie for sure.
Yeah, we call him Archie.
Oh, tell us a little bit about Archie and how he supports you all. Listen, adults too. Tell us
Yes.
about Archie.
So Archie is a standard poodle, and he is 2 years old. So we've had him for about 2.5 years. He started coming to work with me when he was 8 weeks old. And we started with a vision for having a dog on our campus because our facility is like an old school. So it looks like a campus, and that's where we do all of our professional learning. In the summertime, it's packed because teachers come on campus to learn, but we have different things going on there all throughout the week too. So we had this vision for us to have a dog there that could be a greeter, that could just, we could do play therapy with, just during breaks, that we could have him trained to where he can officially just support people emotionally. So we had the vision with adults in mind. And so we got him when he was 8 weeks old. He started coming to work with me. Right then we started training through a local trainer. And so basically the trainer trained me how to train Archie. And that took about a year or so to get all of his training done, but he's now a certified service animal. And so he has a little license and I can take him anywhere with me. And he goes a lot of places with me, schools. I go to universities and talk to pre-service teachers a lot, and we support we have a partnership with all of our universities, and we do some professional development for them as well to keep them up to date with trauma-informed practices, with high-quality instructional materials and things like that. So he'll go on the road with me. He's my ride or die little partner, but he has done so much for our region. And so we really just kind of originally had that vision for him for that. But what grew was a program around working dogs in schools and the impact of that. So I have a professional development, a whole learning experience built around him that supports principals, counselors, superintendents, school boards, whoever basically is interested in the thought of having a full-time working dog on their campus. And so we've been able to help several of our districts get dogs on their campuses, and that's been amazing to see. And so Archie does go into schools too. He's way more comfortable with adults than he is with kids because he's all about being around our teachers. And so sometimes we may have small groups of 20, but we may have large groups of 100 sometimes on our campus. And so we are very sensitive to people who, may not like dogs. And so we have a number that people can text if they want the dog to stay on a leash within their room. And so we oftentimes will have people text that number and say, I need you to bring him to my room to bring him to room E, bring him to, they'll tell us like, I need to see Archie.
That's
So,
awesome.
So a lot of people come on campus and that's the first thing that they look for is him. And so he is our official little greeter. He walks up to every time the door opens, he's going to be right there saying hello. And we can get a ball out sometimes and let him off his leash, and teachers will just play with him, and it has brought so much joy. And so sometimes we even have principals who will reach out and say, hey, can you bring Archie to my school after school? We're having a faculty meeting, can you stop by with him and just let him give loves, and so we do that a lot too. And so there's some of my coworkers sometimes that will actually take him and go some places to to see, but he's mostly with me most of the time. And we've actually even had some crisis response with him. So we've used him for therapy type situations as well, just to go in and visit with students and staff. So he has been an amazing addition to the program. And so our novice teachers get the most access to him, probably because that's who I work with the most. But he really serves everybody in our region, and even beyond. We've been able to even talk with people out of state about how to get a program going in their school. So that has made my heart so happy, because that was even bigger than the vision that we originated, that we started with.
And isn't that how it works sometimes? And by the way, I don't know if you texted Archie and was like, hey,
Yes.
we're talking about, but see, how great is it that like we're in the middle of, and that might not even be Archie, because I'm assuming you probably have a couple dogs.
It was him.
Oh, it was him.
He probably heard me say his name.
Yeah, he's probably like, why are you talking about me in there?
Yes, I have the door shut, and he's probably not happy with me right now.
Well, hey, here's the deal. By the end, if you want to open the door and let Archie come in, you let Archie come in, because I don't think any of us would mind. And if we do mind, good news is you don't have to look at the video. I kind of want to see Archie before we leave, but
okay.
I do think that I think it's powerful. And let me tell you, I told you I was going to wait till after you talked about Archie, about my experience in West Virginia, but I've supported the Project Aware grant from SAMHSA that was given to West Virginia to do some of their trauma-informed education work. And so I've done several keynotes, and I think I actually might be back this summer doing one. And there was one where right before I got up to talk, I swear to you, this happened, Bethany, just like this too. I was sitting there waiting for them to like say my name and all, and these double doors swung open, and as if it was out of a movie or something. And in the door runs the most athletic, adorable Chestnut was his name, or her name. And what was Chestnut? A service pug. A service pug named Chestnut. They released this dog through double open doors to run into the room right before I'm supposed to speak. I will tell you, it was unfair. They set me up. It was unfair. I was so excited to see Chestnut. Chestnut was the life of the party and knew it. Like, Chestnut was like, I'm here. You all celebrate me. I'm going to come around and please pet me because I'm royalty and that's what I deserve. And in the meantime, you're going to feel great about yourself. It was amazing. And part of the Project Aware in West Virginia was to help get therapeutic and service dogs into schools to help process, right? And I don't remember, but I don't remember a focus being around adults, but the byproduct was supportive adults. I love that your process and program was about adults and kids, because it's the reason we're co-authoring a book about adults and kids. You can't have one without the other.
That's right.
You can't have regulated students unless you have regulated adults. It just doesn't work that way. You can do every trauma-informed strategy under the sun, researched by everyone, but if the adults that are modeling and are present are not regulated, it doesn't matter what strategy you try, because we know the research shows mirror neurons, right? We know that we have stress contagion. We know that we're constantly scanning for safety. We know that predictability is key. And when I present, I always say the greatest predictable piece of anything in education is the teacher. So if Tomorrow I come in and you're angry, and the next day you're extremely happy, and the next day you're extremely sad. It's hard for me as a student to know what to come into. Now, that doesn't mean we're happy every day. That means we're able to regulate. That means we're able to say, you know what, today's been a tough day.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Not scream, yell, and slam books and things, which I know does happen, right? Not all the time, but it is really important that our adults are taken care of. So all of that stuff that you said, I know she was just on here, but if you're looking for something great,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Ginger's book, this is the second one. The first one is awesome. The second one, this is just
workbook?
Yes.
Okay, I don't have the workbook. I bought the small one, so I need to order that one.
This is the workbook, and it's Regulation and Co-Regulation by Ginger Healy. If you're like, what do I do? Just grab this, right? Because this is really about the classroom and beyond, but adults can use these strategies too. There's so many other ones, you all, that Connection Over Compliance by my great friend, Dr. Lori Desautel, in her second one, which is intentional neuroplasticity, right? All of these, you all, and all of the episodes of the podcast are around what can we do as adults. We can't expect the kids, right, to do what the adults can't model.
Absolutely.
And it starts with us.
And I always tell novices, and even, and I learned this as a principal, because I started focusing on some trauma-informed, some trauma-informed practices because of situations that were happening in the building. And we were going about it the wrong way. We were punishing students for things that we should not have been punishing for. And so the traditional things were not working, and it was actually making everything worse. And so, I had to learn a different way of doing things. And it's a very unpopular way sometimes at first, because when you're first implementing trauma-informed, and when you become trauma aware, you see the need, to do more, right? And then you become trauma informed, and you're like, okay, yeah, we have to embrace this. But to become trauma sensitive and trauma responsive is a whole different, thing, because a lot of times it just doesn't feel like adults are winning when that happens, because we have to let so much go with what we see with kids. And so when I talk to novice teachers, I tell them all the times that students' behavior is 100% about the behavior of adults. 100%. They're going to throw something out at us, and what we put back on them is it defines everything that happens after that, And so the worst thing that we can be is inconsistent. And so if we respond with a different tone, if we respond without holding space, I love how Ginger Healy talks about holding space, for students, to let them have that time to feel the emotions that they're feeling, and to know that the adult, we do not have to make a decision on what to do about this behavior that we're seeing in the moment. We have to give ourselves permission to just pause, to practice that pause. And sometimes we do that to take care of ourselves first, because we get dysregulated, we feel disrespected, we feel hurt, we feel offended. And so we may have to just take a step back and get something going in the classroom with independent work, turn on some calm music, take some deep breaths, and circle back around to that student, not to redirect or to minimize their struggle, but to lean in, And so, so the hardest thing about talking about this sometimes is that, teachers will push back sometimes on me and say,
"Oh yeah,
let them get away with it. What do we do? We can't just let them talk to us like that. We can't just, let them, curse us out in the classroom. No, it doesn't mean that you're going to let it go. It just means that you're going to honor the fact that they're not in a good place in that moment. And if we get in that place with them, then we can't save either one of us. And so we have to stay in a good place. And that means sometimes it doesn't feel like we're winning, right? It feels like we are maybe losing in that moment, but it's not about winning. And so when we think about the child's brain that may be in survival mode, they're in fight, flight, or freeze, or whatever. It feels like if they don't win, it feels like they're going to die. That's what the trauma, that's what the pain-based behaviors feel like. And so it is do or die for them, and we can't get in there with them and feel the same way, or we won't. We'll both drown. And so being able to take a step back and let that child have some space, whether they're 5 or 17, it doesn't matter. The same strategy works. It's just being a good human and doing what we would want people to do for us when we're upset, as well as adults.
It's interesting. All of that you said, it's like, amen. Yes, absolutely. 100%. Because it is, right? And there's an acronym, Q-tip, right? Quit taking it personally. Right? And that is so hard to understand, but it's true. Like, we can't take things personally that have nothing to do with us. But there's this misnomer that has been around since I was a kid, where you respect adults no matter what.
Yes.
And I get a lot of hate for this, but when I do keynotes, I openly say, I don't think kids should just respect us because we're adults, right?
Amen.
I've seen some pretty hateful adults be really disrespectful to kids. Then when kids respond, the adult wants to talk about respect when they just disrespected someone, right? Yes. And even my own child, I'll say, son, you don't have to respect every adult. Now, sometimes you have to be respectful in how you self-advocate. For example, when you raise your voice in front of my peers, that makes me feel really uncomfortable. Now, some people would say that's disrespectful. I think that's self-advocacy and approaching it in a respectful way, right? So there's so much that we have to begin to untangle, because we have this paternalistic idea that kids have to do this because I'm an adult. And I say, no, they don't. They shouldn't have to, because you're the adult. You should be the one that's modeling respect at the end of the day. And I want to bring up at the ATN, Dr. Lori Desautel's said something that really resonated with me. And she said that we punish trauma logic. Yes. And by trauma logic, she means it's the way the brain is working in situations that kids are in. So, for example, it's logical to not trust adults at school if every adult in your developing years have mistreated or neglected your biological needs. That's logical, right? Yes. That is a logical response to an adult that is not feel supportive. She also said it's logical to run from a space where you fear the tone of voice or look on someone's face. That's logical.
Absolutely.
We would do that. If we walked into a theater, a gas station, a church, and we saw somebody looking sideways, right?
Yes.
We'd be like, I'm going this way, right? But when kids do it, we say it's out of control, it's elopement, it's disrespectful, it's unsafe, right? But it's trauma logic. And the last one, she says, it's logical to yell, fight, and defend yourself if your perceived and past survival feels to be at stake.
Yes.
Again, it's logical, right? So we have to begin to think of these things completely differently. We can't just continue to operate. Really quickly, before I ask you the last question, I told you I was going to go fast. Giovanna, you said, is there a list of books? Here's what I want to tell you. If you're not part of the Trauma Informed Educators Network group on Facebook, there's 33,000 people that are on there. There is someone, and my brain will not allow me to remember the name, who has created an extensive list of amazing resources and books. If you were to go into the group and you type book list, it will pop up. So check that out, because people have curated that already, and that can be a great resource to you. But anyway, so Bethany, time is here. I can't believe that it's been 45 minutes, but tell us, what do you want educators to know from you right now?
Well, this morning when I was talking to a group of educators, and in this whole semester, I've spent a lot of time facilitating learning on trauma sensitive practices and really just brain-based discipline, just thinking about discipline with the brain in mind, and how we have to be in an executive state of mind as the adult, and the student does too. So we can reason and logically think through misbehaviors, right? And that's the only way we're going to be able to help students connect what happened to how they how they can repair it, right? So what I really want to just scream at, to the mountaintops is to think about every interaction that you have with a student. Ask yourself these questions. First, when you get that confrontation, when you get that pushback from a kid and you feel like you're starting to be disrespected, you start to feel like you're getting in your feelings, ask yourself what's driving this behavior, because it's probably going to be fear, stress, or overwhelm. It's going to be one of those things most likely, which means it's not about you. And so that gives you permission to push the actual behavior itself to the side, okay? And then what can I do in this moment to take care of myself so I'm regulated? And what can I do to make this student feel safe in this moment? And then lastly, what can I do to strengthen? What can I do in this moment that will strengthen my relationship with this kid? And so that takes away any type of shame, any type of threat, or any type of sarcasm or aggressive nature, right? It pushes all that away because none of that will strengthen the relationship. And so when we can think through those series of questions and get that to be automatic, then we are going to build trust and safety within the classroom community. And then those behaviors start to subside some. It doesn't mean that kids won't still flip their lid some days, but they're more likely to be able to say, I need a break right now. I need some space right now, instead of throwing a desk or cursing out the teacher or running out of the classroom, right? Because those are those survival moves that kids will make when they don't feel like someone has their back. And so we have to make sure that every kid knows we have their back, even those ones that we have trouble connecting with. We may not even like every single kid that we have to work with.
True.
But unconditional love doesn't have anything to do with like. Right? We just have to love them, and loving them is seeing them even in their worst moments as a human who needs to be valued, seen, and heard. And so that would be my little TED talk that I would love everyone to know.
You nailed it. And now I'm thinking that seems those 4 questions could have a place in the book that we're writing. And you would be credited with that. So I may talk to you afterwards, because those are 4 valuable questions that we all need to ask ourselves, right? And it's so true. If we can just work on our own activators and pet peeves and know what triggers us in those moments, right? We have to understand that so we can stay regulated in the moments that are the hardest. And it's hard, you all. I'm not even acting like it's easy. And I have a 13-year-old, so it's really hard every day that he is me. He's me. So, I mean, it's annoying because he's me. While he's literally texting me saying, "Are you taking me to soccer practice?" And I'm saying, "Yes, I am." But anyway, you all, thank you so much for listening and being supportive of this podcast. Thank you to all who are live, and Giovanna and Aaron and Jonathan and all the people that came on to listen. Amanda, we appreciate you for being here live, and all of you that listen on the podcast. Please leave a review, leave a like, and that just helps us get more listeners, which is really important that we spread this message of trauma-informed education work. And lastly, it's not too late. It is not too late. If you want to join the Disruptors March 4th, you can still do that. You can just click the link if you're listening to the podcast. Go to YouTube, go to Trauma Informed Educators Network on social media, look at the live video of this, and you'll see the link. You can still register. It goes on until next Monday. So register, be part of the March 4th, the first annual. There's going to be an annual one every year during this week. So this is just the start. So as always, you all, I'm going to play the music one more time because it certainly did not last long enough for me. There we go. Remember, please go into the world and do something absolutely awesome. All right. Thank you all who remained on, and thank you for those of you who that were live. Much appreciated, Bethany. Thank you so much. If you'll give me just 1 minute, we'll connect at the end after we say goodbye. But thank you all who are on here live. We'll be back next week. Oh, I forgot to say that, with Dr. Letitia Noyes, who is going to be, it's a surprise guest. I won't tell you why she's surprised, but she's going to be on here next Monday, and we're going to have a great conversation because she is remarkably brilliant and in the work as well. So come back next Monday, same time, same place, and we will see you all then. So see you if you're live.